If work feels overly complicated, here's something that might help. Paylocity's one platform for HR, finance, and IT delivers AI-powered automation, centralized workforce data, and flexible time tracking to support teams during busy seasons. With mobile clock-ins and intelligent insights all in one place, confident decisions come easier. Learn more about how Paylocity helps streamline work and bring teams together at paylocity.com/one.
If you want to accelerate performance, reduce uncertainty. It's not about more tools. It's not about more systems. It's not about faster. It's about reducing uncertainty for people.
I want you to take a moment and think, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your current orientation process? Now reflect on that number, and your answer can reveal a lot about how welcoming and effective your current process feels for new hires. And if you help design your onboarding process, you might consider this. Are you evaluating it as the architect or as the employee experiencing the process for the first time? So onboarding can be more than just paperwork or training. It's a new employee's first impression of your company and your culture. Welcome to a special live recording of Honest HR, where we turn real issues facing today's HR teams into actionable insights and honest conversations. I'm your host, Monique Akambi. Let's get honest. New employees don't need another portal to navigate or more compliance modules to complete. What they need is clarity, support, and just time to breathe. However, with mounting pressure to shorten ramp times and increase productivity faster than ever, how do you balance speed with a sense of belonging? Joining us today is Dr. Toney, an educator, leadership practitioner, and learning architect who has spent more than 2 decades designing human-centered performance systems. Dr. Toney has developed the Kinder 30-60-90 framework, an approach that positions AI as a quiet co-pilot, offering timely nudges while keeping people at the center of the onboarding experience. Welcome to Honest HR, Dr. Toney.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Well, I am excited to dig into employee onboarding and the experience. And my first question is to you is that you've said that AI does not fix onboarding. It magnifies whatever systems you already have in place or whatever systems that are already designed. Can you explain what you mean by this and why so many organizations are getting this wrong?
Sure, absolutely. AI is not going to, and I think we have this challenge sometimes in our heads. AI is not going to fix something or make something better or beautiful just in and of itself by adding it onto a system. If your system is clear, if it's well structured, if it's well sequenced, if it's well thought out and well planned, if the learning within it is solid, then AI is going to amplify that. It's going to amplify that well thought out, clear system. If that system is, however, chaotic, if it's confused, if it's not human-centered, it's just going to scale the confusion. And so that, I think, is where a lot of organizations get things wrong, is they think, how can I use AI right now, instead of taking that step back and going, is this a system that was built for learning in the first place? is this actually a system where people have the capacity to learn and to concentrate? Or is it just a system where we're inundating them with more and more and more information? So you've got to think about what you're amplifying to begin with, because AI is just going to amplify what's already there.
Got it. And so with onboarding, many times we're faced with bringing employees on into the organization, and we have to balance, again, orienting them to the culture of the organization, letting them know where the restroom is, at least if they're going into a brick and mortar, right, on the first day. So we're balancing, one, bringing them on board, but then also kind of immersing them into their role and knowing their responsibilities. So in your experience, what is the biggest misconception HR leaders have about accelerating new hire performance? And then why do traditional 30, 60, and 90-day plans often miss the mark?
I think the biggest misconception I see in organizations is that speed equals compression. That if we front load all of, and I'm so guilty of this, so this is me owning this also, but this idea of if we compress all of this information and we front load a bunch of information, then they will learn and people will acclimate and then they will fit in. And that is simply, if there are learning professionals and training professionals in the room right now, we know that that's not how the human brain works. That is not how we work. You cannot just throw more information at the human brain and have it learn more. In fact, the exact opposite is going to be the case. It will start to freak out and shut down. Layman's terms, but I'm not using scientific terms, but it will start to panic a little bit. You get that fight, flight, freeze thing happening. And people will not learn as well because they are so inundated with information, when what we really need to do is decrease uncertainty. When people are certain, when they feel like they know what is expected of them, then performance increases. Then they're not just completing checklists and compliance lists. They honestly understand how they belong, how they perform, and why that performance matters. And where I see a lot of traditional 30, 60, 90 plans, and I believe that was the other part of your question, was where those 30, 60, 90 plans often fail, is that they are very compliance driven. They're very checklist driven. They focus very much on do this now, do this next, but they don't focus on getting back to that why. That understanding how the human element of it, of how does this actually relate to who I am in this role and who I am becoming in this role. And some of those are things that people need to have in human conversation and human connection. And AI, and we'll talk about this more, I think, as we get into some of these questions, is fantastic at supporting all of this. Because I'm a huge AI user. I love AI. I use it every day, all the time. So I am not anti-AI by any means. But it's the very informed way that it's used in all of this, with that human layer and human component, focusing on a more of the experience.
SHRM certification, the global standard for HR professionals ready to lead with impact. Whether you're building your foundation or driving strategy, SHRM certification validates what you can actually do on the job, not just what you know. Stand out, grow your career, and turn HR expertise into real business results. Get certified. Get recognized. Lead the future of work with SHRM. Get certified today.
SHRM.
So I want to dive into kinder 30, 60, 90, the 30, 60, 90 framework. And at a high level, what makes this framework different than your traditional 30, 60, 90-day onboarding plans?
So I think the kinder 30, 60, 90 is different because traditionally, from what I've noticed, as I said, most 30, 60, 90s are really milestone based. They're very checklist based. You do this, then you move to this, and you move to this. I really look at it as, I frame this as experienced based. This is really frames it as looking at cognitive load. So that's one of the components of it that we'll talk a little bit more about. What should people, from the total experience perspective, be learning? When should they be learning it? And how should they be learning it? Mm-hmm. And that's probably going to be a little different person to person. Mm-hmm. And AI can help to individualize that, which is fantastic. But you've got to figure out how that's going to be different person to person. So it's focusing on the experience, the cognitive load, clarity of expectations and instruction. So ensuring that the what folks are learning and when they're learning it is very clear. That why, again, is very clear. The sense of belonging is stressed from, I would say day one, but it's really day zero. That's part of the hiring process. That should come from day negative, 15. That should be part of how you're hiring as well. So that sense of belonging is really even before the hiring is taking place.
Right.
And then ensuring that there are feedback loops so that you're constantly getting more information so that you can improve the system as well. So this idea of it's not a set system, that it's not a set it and forget it, we should be constantly improving as well.
Right. If I think back to, and our audience can probably relate, starting a new job, no matter where you are in your career, whether you're, a senior level executive or this is your first job, your first day is always terrifying, right? It's almost like a fish out of water, right? You don't know anyone, and especially for us as the adult learners, sometimes it's just a little challenging or overwhelming for us to be able to learn something new. So I'm just thinking about all of the emotions or the feelings that you get in the beginning of starting in a new role or starting with a new organization. There's 4 layers that I want to talk about, and you mentioned the cognitive load design, AI kind of as that scaffold, and recognition architecture, and then the early feedback intelligence. How do these show up in practice?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. So cognitive load design, and this is a great place to use AI as a support. That shows up in sequencing. That shows up in exactly the way that that things might be summarized. So that sequence summarization. So maybe it's in the policies being summarized specifically for the role for the individual. It is exactly when you need to interact with specific components of policy or of the manual whenever you start a role, but ensuring that that things, again, are at the right time, in the right way, in the right place. And part of it is understanding, and I'm glad you mentioned that there's a lot more than just the work going on for people. Because on those first days, you are experiencing a lot of emotions, and those emotions can block or influence some of your ability to learn. And so we have to recognize that and build some of the learning to understand that it needs to be more trickled and spaced. Spaced learning is a big deal, so that people are getting things over time instead of just a data dump, because that doesn't work for anybody.
Right.
That works for no one.
Don't ask me what happened yesterday. I can't even tell
No,
you.
data
I'm
dump.
telling you.
So cognitive load. AI is scaffolding, and then the other part of that that's really important is AI is scaffolding, not supervisor. So the AI as the support system to help with understand what training is needed. It can even provide some training. It can help to summarize what's coming out of onboarding to understand, oh, wait a second, we're all stumbling at this whole cohort stumbling at the same spot. Houston, we have a problem. This is a bigger issue. We might need to look at this question. We might need to look at the overall onboarding training. That really goes back to the feedback architecture. But that the AI can provide some scaffolding and some assistance and some training and some help in there for your team. It can provide some training, but that human connection, any evaluation of the training, any evaluation of any assessments needs to be done by a human being.
So I'm going to pause right there because now my brain is in overdrive. And I'm just trying to imagine, like, what is integrating or using AI in the onboarding process? What does that look like in terms of being able to kind of like complement or summarize the process or the employee's experience?
And it's going to depend on your specific onboarding
Process.
I mean, it might look like pulse surveys. So
Okay.
you might be sending out pulse surveys to ask, how's it going? What have you learned today? It might be tests even. Again, it's going to depend on specifically what it is you are onboarding for. Because it might literally be a test of skills that they should be learning. It might be softer things. It might be something like a pulse survey that's more of on a scale from 1 to 1 to 5. How are you feeling about your integration into to work today? How are you just feeling today? How are you feeling today? Those are ways that you can get instant feedback from your onboarding.
Okay.
And get some idea of how's it going.
Mm-hmm.
And then the manager should get that information, adjudicate it, and respond to it. And that's the really important part, is that it should not be the AI adjudicating it and responding to it. And I think that's really important to talk about, is that and I actually went to a session, one of the first sessions earlier today, where the gentleman talked about that a good bit, and I thought it was fantastic. That there always needs to be that critical human oversight, particularly when it's going to be evaluation. Recognition architecture, that's another component. This one's very near and dear to my heart, because one of the things that I have found is, in particular in 30, 60, 90, in those first 90 days, it can be kind of piddly. I hate to say that, but those first 30, 60, 90 days, people can feel like they're not contributing really. And that's something that I have heard in many workplaces. Like, I want a real job. I came here because I'm a professional and I want to contribute. And that the idea of recognition architecture is ensuring that in the first 30, 60, 90 days that you have built into onboarding ways that individuals are meaningfully contributing to real projects and they get real recognition somewhere within those 30, 60, 90 days. Not just platitudes, but honest to goodness, real projects.
Missing a step in the I-9 process or making an error in E-Verify can expose your organization to unnecessary risk and costly consequences. For HR professionals, staying compliant is essential. So to help navigate these requirements with confidence, SHRM created the I-9 and E-Verify e-learning guide, a practical resource designed to provide clear, actionable guidance on employment eligibility verification. The guide, valued at $395, is included with SHRM membership. So join SHRM today for $299 and get access to a broad range of tools, resources, and professional support, all designed to help HR professionals stay informed and prepared.
SHRM.
So, as AI continues to evolve, how do you see the role of human managers changing in the onboarding process? Because we have a saying here, AI plus HI equals ROI, right? So artificial intelligence plus human intelligence or human ingenuity equals return on investment. So what will always remain uniquely human?
I really think that the role of the manager is going to increase in importance, at least in my view, because AI is great at sorting, sequencing, answering basic questions if it has the correct data. And so that's very important if it has the correct inputs for the algorithm. But managers need to interpret that information based on the culture within the context that they are working within, based on the individuals that they are working with. They need to calibrate. They're going to need judgment. They need to build trust within the organization. They're going to be the culture builders. So in my mind, the role of the manager is going to be more important for building the culture of the team and the company, because that's the uniquely human connection that people are going to get, and it's the uniquely human judgment that really needs to be used on top of the AI outputs.
So there's this risk of subtle erosion when it comes to AI being poorly integrated. So more generic content, minor inaccuracies, automated tone. So really, focusing on integrating that human element and making sure that it's human centered. How do organizations prevent this while still gaining efficiency benefits?
So that erosion tends to happen when efficiency replaces intention. We see that all the time. And again, AI, fabulous for summarizing, sequencing, pattern detection, those kinds of things. But people can tell when people haven't actually designed something. And one of my golden rule, my go-to, is design it and then automate it. Don't do it the other way around. Don't start automating and then design it. because that's one of the ways that those subtle erosions end up in there, is that people just started to kind of throw in automation on top of things. Design with solid learning in mind, design with certainty, design with belonging in mind, and automate after. And I think it's really important, we talk about that human oversight. It has to be good human oversight. It has to be accountable human oversight. It has to be knowledgeable human oversight. It can't just be, yeah, it's good. It has to be real good human oversight, because AI makes mistakes all the time. And I'm somebody who uses it all the time. I argued with it last week about basic math. And I'm not a math person. And this was an AI, this was a paid AI. This was not some cheap free. This was like, I'm not going to use its name, obviously. This was a good AI. This is an AI that people use to do coding and like engineering and stuff. And I was just asking it to do some basic, like lay my calendar out. The math was not mathing. It was not mathing. And I do basic addition with a calculator, but I was like, no. And had to argue with this AI, and finally had to do basic, like, no, 2 + 2. Dude, this isn't working. And it finally was like, oh yeah, you're right. My math was wrong. But if I hadn't stopped to check it, my entire calendar for 2026 would just be a wreck right now, because I would have just trusted it and loaded it into my calendar app, and boop, that would have just been that, and it would have just been a nightmare. And that's only one of the mistakes it made last week, just one. There were multiples. So, check the outputs. You've got to have good human oversight of this stuff, because it makes mistakes all the time.
Yeah. Well, and we know, or we've heard in general, how AI will create some of those automations, will create or generate efficiencies, so that way we can streamline a lot of processes and really kind of drive it down to those business measures or those business outcomes that we're looking for. And so I love like incorporating that into the onboarding process, but then also keeping the human at the center of it, right?
Yes.
It's AI complements your onboarding process, but at the center it should be the person, the person,
Very
the human.
much.
How can HR professionals measure the success of their onboarding program?
I mean, I think attrition is definitely a way to measure it. I think you can measure it through pulse surveys. I think that's a great way to. I also have really enjoyed, and in the past, I've done surveys with prior hires and sent folks through. I have sent prior hires through new onboarding programs. So people who went through old onboarding, I've sent them through new onboarding before to test it. And that's actually a really good way to get feedback and test a new onboarding program. Was sent people in the company who'd been with the company, some who'd been there for 2 years, and some who'd been there for 20, and some who'd been there for like 6 months. And they all went through the new onboarding program. And that was an amazing way to get feedback on it.
Yeah, I bet they probably said, I wish I had this
Oh.
when I started, right?
Amazing. It was fantastic. But you got some really honest feedback, and you got some great stuff from the long tenured folks. And we actually found out some holes in it. That was a great way for us to find out some really critical feedback. from some of the folks who'd been around for a really long time also. So I think that's a good way to get some measures on it and kind of test it out early, is have some people who know kind of run a pilot test on it and get their opinions on it.
So, question for you in terms of evaluating the onboarding. What would you say, in your opinion, is a good time frame to evaluate? So, let's say you've done an overhaul of your onboarding process. At what point would you say is a good time? Because you're continuously evaluating it, but is there a certain period to say there may need to be a redo or an update?
Some of that's going to depend, I think, on your industry. So I think some of that's going to depend on what you do. You know, I don't know that there is like a hard and fast. I don't know that there is a right answer. I'm one of those. I'm probably not a good person to ask that, because I'm like dude, look at it every year.
Right. Well, and
Look at it, look at it annually. Which is probably not what you guys want to hear. You're like, oh no, don't say that. But you know, I'm like, look at it annually. Look at it on a regular basis. Keep it fresh. Keep those questions fresh. You know, if you're trying to hire people who are fresh in the workforce, who are coming out of college, who are coming out of other jobs, who are reading blogs about what's going on in hiring, your hiring process should probably be refreshed pretty regularly also. So, I mean, I would say annual. I know that that's probably, everybody's like, throw things at her now.
No.
So,
Well, I mean, if you think about it, at the rate that things change, I don't think that annually is unrealistic, because, I mean, things change so rapidly. If you could design the perfect first day for a new hire, what would it look like?
I think there would be, again, depends dramatically on the job. But you know, one of the things that would be included in that first day, so I won't go like through every little bit, but all of their things that they need would be there.
That's important.
So all the stuff they need would be there.
That is important.
There wouldn't be like, oh, your computer will be here next week, your key card's not here, your da-da-da. All their stuff's there. So yes, number one. And then I think they would be able to really shadow someone doing the job they're going to do, so that they truly get to see, at least for some of the day, not the whole day, because that would make everybody crazy. But at least for like 2 hours, they're truly seeing someone and talking to someone who is doing the work that they are going to do. And they get to watch it happen. I'm also a very big fan of, you know, human to human connection. And so those meeting, you know, you meet with your supervisor, you meet with your supervisor's supervisor. You, in one of my prior companies, you met with the CEO, the president, you know, and I'm a huge believer in that. Like, you meet with everybody, and I don't care who you were in the company. I don't care if you were an intern coming in for the summer. Everyone had that conversation. And I think that's incredibly important. And that sets a tone. I don't know that that's the first day, but that's the first week. You know, that sets that tone for this is a human place. We're gonna have conversations, and it's more important that you meet these people than it is that you sit down and read a bunch of policy handbooks. Because you're not gonna remember these policy handbooks anyway. And you're gonna be able to find them on the internet when you need them. So that would be included in that first day.
Okay. If you could leave our audience with one key insight about creating onboarding that truly accelerates performance while respecting people, what would that be?
If you want to accelerate performance, reduce uncertainty. I think that would be my biggest thing. It's not about more tools. It's not about more systems. It's not about faster. It's about reducing uncertainty for people. Because if people get the why and they know at least where to go for questions and they have that sense of belonging, the rest is gonna figure itself out. The rest will really fall into place. It really will. But if you really want to accelerate performance, what you very much need to do is reduce uncertainty.
Well, thank you so much, Hannah, for joining us for this special episode of Honest HR. And thank you to our live audience online and in person. That is going to do it for this episode of Honest HR. We'll catch you next time.
Hello, friends. We hope this week's episode gave you the candid tips and insights you need to keep growing and thriving in your career. Honest HR is part of HR Daily, the content series from SHRM that delivers a daily newsletter directly to your inbox, filled with all the latest HR news and research. Sign up at shrm.org/HR Daily, plus follow SHRM on social media for even more clips and stories. Like, share, and add to the comments. Because real change starts with real talk.
Working around complexity is the norm. But what if it didn't have to be? Imagine never second-guessing payroll. Real-time expense data that puts you in control. And automated workflows that take repetitive tasks off your plate. That what if is now a reality. One unified platform for HR, finance, and IT.
SHRM.
This podcast is approved for 0.5 professional development credits, also known as PDCs, towards SHRM CP and SHRM SCP recertification. Enter the following PDC activity ID in your SHRM activity portal to log your credit. 27DK6AN. Again, the PDC code is 27DK6AN. This code expires August 1st, 2027.